David Bauer,
Ivan Luis Carpio Bautista,
Marlon Capito Batista,
Mark Lawrence Bavis,
Jasper Baxter,
Lorraine G. Bay,
Michelle Beal,
Todd M. Beamer,
Paul Frederick Bettini,
Jane S. Beatty,
Alan Anthony Bevan,
Lawrence Ira Beck,
Manette Marie Beckles,
Firefighter Carl John Badigian,
Michael Ernest Beekman,
and my uncle, Firefighter Joseph Patrick Henry. Uncle Joey, although I never got to meet you, I've heard stories about your great sense of humor and how we would have had many laughs with you as our uncle. We know you are always watching over us. Thank you for being our guardian angel and hero.
and my brother from Local 3, James Marcel Cartier. Local 3 lost 17 members that day. God bless Local 3. God bless America. Lester Marino, Tommy Ashton, and a very good friend of mine's dad, Kenneth Watson. God bless America.
Maria A. Bear,
Max J. Belkey,
Yelena Belowski,
Nina Patrice Bell,
Debbie S. Bellows,
Stephen Elliott Belson,
Paul N.
Benedetti, Denise Lenore Benedetto,
Brian Craig Bennett,
Eric L. Bennett,
Oliver Bennett,
Margaret L. Benson,
Dominic J.
Berardi, James Patrick Berger,
Stephen Howard Berger,
John P. Bergen,
Alvin
Bergson, Daniel David Bergstein, Graham Andrew Berkeley, Michael J. Berkeley,
Donna M.
Bernards, David W. Bernard,
William H.
Bernstein, David M. Beret,
David Shelby Barry,
Joseph John Berry,
Willem Reed Besky,
Yanuth Betru,
Timothy D. Betterly,
Carolyn Mayer Bug,
Edward Frank B.A.,
Paul Michael Bayer,
Anil Talaram Barbani,
Bella J. Bacan,
Shmi D.
Beagleson, Peter Alexander Bielfeld,
G. Bigart.
Ryan Eugene Bilcher,
Mark Bickham.
Carl Vincent Beanie,
And my papa, Michael Sean Curtin.
and my father, NYPD ESU Truck 2 Sergeant and USMC Sergeant Major Michael Sean Curtin. We miss you every day, and God bless America.
Gary Eugene Bird,
Joshua David Birnbaum.
George John Bishop,
Chris Romeo Bushundat.
Jeffrey Donald Bittner,
Albert Balewa Blackman Jr.
Christopher Joseph Blackwell,
Carrie Rosetta Blackburn.
Susan Lee Blair,
Harry Blanding Jr.
Janice Lee Blaney,
Craig Michael Blass.
Rita Blau,
Richard Middleton Blood Jr.
Michael Andrew Bacardi,
John Paul Bacci.
Michael L. Bocino,
Susan M. Bacchino.
Diora Francis Bodley,
Bruce Douglas Bohm.
Mary Catherine Murphy Baffa,
Nicholas Andrew Bogdan.
Darren Christopher Bohan,
Lawrence Francis Wazo.
Vincent M. Boland Jr.,
Tori Hamzavi Balorchi.
Alan Bondarenko,
Andre Bonner Jr.
Colin Arthur Bonnet,
Frank J. Bonomo.
Yvonne Lucia Bonomo,
Sean Booker Sr.
Kelly Ann Booms,
Canfield D. Boone.
Mary Jane Booth,
Sherry Ann Bordeaux.
Christine Boranabe,
Jerry J. Borg.
Martin Michael Borchevsky,
Richard Edward Bosco.
and my uncle, Captain Brian C. Hickey, Rescue Company 4. Uncle Brian, when you were taken away from us, left a void that's impossible to fill. But you did leave us with memories that we'll cherish forever and values that we'll uphold and pass down for generations. You're still here because all that you stood for and believed in now lives on through us. And we hope that you're looking down with pride. We love you, we miss you, and we thank you. And we thank all the first responders, the true heroes, who sacrificed their lives on that day and on days beyond. Thank you.
Ray and Reese, if Grandpa were here today, he'd tell you to be kind, be strong, and hold the door for others. He'd also tell you to remember to enjoy your Reese's peanut butter cups with your friends. And most of all, he'd remind you to remind Grandpa his sauce was better.
Klaus Bort,
Carol Marie Bouchard,
J. Howard Bolton,
Francisco Eligio Bordier,
Thomas Harold Baldwin Jr.,
Donna M. Bowen,
Kimberly S. Bowers,
Veronique Nicole Bowers,
Larry Bowen,
Sean Edward Bowman Jr.,
Kevin L. Bowser,
Gary R. Box,
Gennady Boyarsky,
Pamela Boyce,
Helen P. Boyle,
Michael Boyle,
Alfred J. Braca,
Sandra Kennedy Brace,
Kevin U. Brecken,
Sandy Webb Bradshaw,
David Brian Brady,
Alexander Brzezinski,
and my nephew, Rocco Nino Gargano, Tower 1, Canto Fitzgerald. Nino, one word I'd like to say. You will be never forget, like 9/11. That's a terrible day, but unfortunately you will be one of the best calendar never I ever forget in my entire life. And Nino, one thing I'm sure, I was there from day one looking for you from the first hour I received a phone call. And unfortunately, I become cancer patient. I'm sure I'm survived 12-year cancer stage 4. It thanks to you looking over me. And my prayer would be for all the people who lost their life, including the NYPD, the fire department, and all the citizens. God bless America, and thank you to all of you to be in the prayer today. Nino, don't forget to look over your mom. She's by herself, and she never forget 1 minute of her life. You always there in the house, and wherever she goes and whatever, be able to take her. God bless you again. God bless America. Nichols W. Brandemarty.
Daniel Raymond Brandhorst.
David Reed Gamboa, Brentford.
Michelle Renee Braden.
Patrice Broad.
Lydia Estelle Bravo.
Ronald Michael Brettweiser.
Edward A. Brennan III.
Frank H. Brennan.
Michael E. Brennan.
Peter Brennan.
Thomas Moore Brennan.
Daniel J. Brettil.
Gary Lee Bright.
Jonathan Eric Bright.
Mark A. Brisman.
Paul Gary Bristol.
Marion R. Britton. And my grandmother, Arlene Ava Freed. To my grandma, the memories you shared with my family make me feel so special to carry on your name as my middle name. I've always been told by my mom and aunts that to have known you would have been to absolutely love and adore you. So today, my brother, cousin, and I, all named after you, will continue to carry on your memory as well the rest of our family. You'll never be forgotten, Grandma Arlene.
Mark Francis Broderick.
Herman Charles Broghammer.
Keith A. Broomfield.
Bernard C. Brown II.
Janice J. Lois Brown.
Lloyd Stanford Brown.
Patrick John Brown.
Bettina B. Browd Radburn.
Mark Bruce.
Richard George Bruhert.
Andrew Brune.
Vincent Edward Brunton.
Ronald Booker.
Brandon J. Buchanan.
Greg J. Buck.
Dennis Buckley.
Nancy Claire Boucher.
Patrick Joseph Boos.
John Edward Balaguer Jr.
Stephen Bruce Bunin.
Christopher L. Burford.
Matthew J. Burke.
Thomas Daniel Burke.
William Francis Burke Jr.
Charles F. Burlingame III.
Thomas E. Burnett Jr.
Donald J. Burns.
Kathleen Ann Burns.
Keith James Burns.
John Patrick Burnside.
Irina Buslow.
Milton G. Bustillo.
Thomas M. Butler.
Patrick Dennis Byrne.
Timothy G. Byrne.
Daniel M. Caballero.
Jesus Neptali Cabezas.
Lillian Caceres.
Joseph Caccia.
Stephen Dennis Cafiero Jr.
And my cousin, Thomas Swift. Love you, never forgotten. Until we meet again. Love you, cuz.
And my father, Rodney James Watton. Your family loves you and misses you so much. Thank you for watching over us. You're our hero.
Richard Michael Caggiano.
Cecile Maria Caglica.
John Brett Cahill.
Michael John Cahill.
Scott Walter Cahill.
Thomas Joseph Cahill.
George C. Keane.
Salvatore B. Calabro.
Joseph M. Calandrillo.
Philip V. Calcagno.
Edward Calderon.
Jose Calderon Olmedo.
Kenneth Marcus Caldwell.
Dominic E. Calia.
Felix Bobby Caliste.
Francis Joseph Callahan.
Liam Callahan.
Suzanne M. Cali.
Gino Luigi Calvi.
Rocco Camaj.
Michael F. Camerata.
David Ote Campbell.
Jeffrey Thomas Campbell.
Robert Arthur Campbell.
Sandra Patricia Campbell.
Sean Thomas Canavan.
John A. Candela.
Vincent A. Canlaji.
Stephen J. Cangelosi.
Lisa Bella Caneva.
Brian Canizaro.
Michael R. Canty.
Louis Anthony Caparici.
Jonathan Neef Capello.
James Christopher Cappers.
Richard Michael Caproni.
Jose Manuel Cardona.
Dennis M. Carey Sr.
Edward Carlino.
Michael Scott Carlo.
And my grandfather, Assistant Chief of Department Gerard A. Barbara, Incident Commander of the South Tower Rescue Mission. I'm sad that I never got to meet you. People who knew you tell me that you were a smart, caring, and brave role model who always wanted to solve the problem and keep the team safe. You were always prepared and forever a gentleman as a husband, father, family, or friend. I can't change that you're not here to watch us grow up, but I will live my life with our values and wear our name proudly. God bless America.
And my uncle Richard T. Muldowney Jr. and my cousin Kenneth Thomas Watson.
David G. Carlone.
Rosemary C. Carson.
Mark Stephen Carney.
Joyce N. Carpeneto.
Jeremy Kaz Carrington.
Michael T. Carroll.
Peter J. Carroll.
James Joseph Carson Jr.
Christopher Mikael Karstingen.
Angeline C. Carter.
James Marcel Cartier.
Sharon Ann Carver.
Vivian Casaldic.
Jan Francis Cazaza.
Paul Regan Casio.
Nellie Ann Heffernan Casey.
William Joseph Cashman.
Thomas Anthony Casoria.
William Otto Casper.
Alejandro Castaño.
Arcelia Castillo.
Leonard M. Castellano.
Jose Ramon Castro.
William E. Caswell.
Richard G. Catarelli.
Christopher Seyon Caton.
Robert John Caulfield.
Mary Teresa Caulfield.
Judson Cavalier.
Michael Joseph Cowley.
Jason David Kane.
Juan Armando Cibalios.
Marsha G. Cecil Carter.
Jason Michael Cepalo.
Thomas Joseph Selleck.
Anna Mercedes Centeno.
Joni Sesta.
John J. Chada.
Jeffrey Mark Chernoff.
Sharna Shala Sani.
And my real life superhero, my cousin David Prudencio Lemagne. You are the perfect example of sacrifice and servanthood. Thank you for everything. Your legacy lives within each one of us. We love you dearly, we miss you incredibly, and will remember you forever. I hope you're proud.
And our beloved son, J. Cyril Malabuyok de Chavez. Magandang umaga sa lahat. Good morning to all. JC, we love you and miss you every day. Your memory lives on even after all these years. Thank you for being our guardian angel. We miss you, your smile, and our thoughts. May you rest in peace, all those who are departed one on this tragedy date, 9/11. And may all rest in peace in the kingdom of God. Thank you.
William A. Chalkoff, Eli Shalou, Charles Lawrence Chan, Mandy Chang, Rosa Maria Chapa, Mark Lawrence Charette, David M. Charlebois, Gregorio Manuel Chavez, Pedro Francisco Checo, Douglas Macmillan Cherry, Stephen Patrick Cherry, Vernon Paul Cherry, Nestor Julio Chevalier Jr., Swede Joseph Chevalier, Alexander H. Chiang, Dorothy J. Chicharo, Luis Alfonso Chimbo, Robert Chin, Eddie Wingwei Ching, Nicholas Paul Giofalo, John G. Chipura, Peter A. Churchirillo, Catherine Ellen Chiros, Kyung Hee Casey Cho, Abul K. Chowdhury, Mohammed Salahuddin Chowdhury, Kirsten Leo Christoph, Pamela Chu, Stephen Paul Chuknik, Y. Ching Chung, Christopher Giaffardini, Alex F. Sicone, Francis Ann Salente, Elaine Sillo, Edna Cintron, Nestor Andre Cintron III, Robert D. Siri Sr., Juan Pablo Cisneros, Benjamin Keith Clark, Eugene Clark, and my cousin Thomas Anthony Casorio. May his soul and all the souls of those who were lost that day, as well as those who have died as a result of illness, always be remembered as true heroes. God bless them all.
And my aunt, Gabriella Silvina Weissman, who I never had the opportunity to meet, but who I have learned about through my mother and grandparents. We love you, Auntie Gabby, and we will never forget you. She was a kind and loving woman who was a beacon of joy for everyone in her life. I would also like to thank the thousands of servicemen and women who have sacrificed and continue to sacrifice for our nation in the war on terror, as well as the first responders who answered the call that day and saved countless lives. God bless America, and let us never forget.
Gregory Allen Clark, Manny Leroy Clark, Sarah M. Clark, Thomas R. Clark, Christopher Robert Clark, Donna Marie Clark, Michael J. Clark, Saria Rachel Emma Clark, Kevin Francis Cleary, James D. Clear, Jeffrey W. Cloud, Susan Marie Klein, Stephen Coakley, Jeffrey Allen Cole, Patricia A. Cody, Daniel Michael Coffey, Jason Matthew Coffey, Florence G. Cohen, Kevin S. Cohen, Anthony Joseph Coladonato, Mark Joseph Kaleo, Stephen J. Kaleo, Christopher Michael Colasanti, Kevin Nathaniel Colbert, Michelle P. Colbert, Keith E. Coleman, Scott Thomas Coleman, Terrell Coleman, Liam Joseph Colhoun, Robert D. Colin, Robert J. Cole, Jean Marie Collin, John Michael Collins, Michael L. Collins, Thomas Joseph Collins, Joseph Kent Collison, Jeffrey Dwayne Coleman, Patricia Malia Kolodner, Linda M. Colon, Saul E. Cologne, and a special remembrance for my friend, my heroic friend, Kathy Mazza from the Port Authority Police Department, for my EMS colleagues, and for our family members, brother, brother-in-law, father, and friend, Robert Toomey and Emmerich Harvey. And my mother, Roberta Bernstein Heber, you are always in my heart.
Ronald Edward Comer,
Jaime Concepcion,
Albert Conde,
Denise Conley,
Susan P. Cologne,
Margaret Mary Connor,
Cynthia Marie Lease Conley,
John E. Connolly Jr.,
James Lee Connor,
Jonathan M. Connors,
Kevin Patrick Connors,
Kevin F. Conroy,
Brenda E. Conway,
Dennis Michael Cook,
Helen D. Cook,
Jeffrey W. Coons,
John A. Cooper,
Julian T. Cooper,
Joseph John Copo Jr.,
Gerard J. Coppola,
Joseph Albert Corbett,
John J. Corcoran III,
Alejandro Cordero,
Robert Joseph Cordes,
Ruben D. Pereira,
Danny A. Correa Gutierrez,
Georgine Rose Corrigan,
James J. Corrigan, retired,
Carlos Cortez Rodriguez,
Kevin Michael Cosgrove,
Dolores Marie Costa,
Digna Alexandra Costanza,
Charles Gregory Costello Jr.,
Michael S. Costello,
Asia S. Cottom,
Conrad Kofi Katoy Sr.,
Martin John Copeland,
John G. Coughlin,
Timothy J. Coughlin,
James E. Cove,
and to my brother, firefighter, Sergeant Reserve, I miss you, I love you, and you'll never be forgotten.
and my cousin, Jude Elias Safi. I wish we had more time together. Life is so unexpected, and it is because of you that I try to see or speak to those I love as often as possible. I am reminded of you every time I see your nephews' faces. Your niece and nephews would have loved spending time with their cool and fun uncle. Your family and friends love you and miss you every day. You will never be forgotten.
Andre Colin Cox,
Frederick John Cox,
James Raymond Coyle,
Michelle Coyle Alou,
Christopher Seaton Kramer,
Eric A. Cranford,
Denise Elizabeth Krant,
James Leslie Cranford Jr.,
Robert James Crawford,
Tara Kathleen Creamer,
Joanne Mary Cregan,
Lucia Javasi,
John A. Creasy,
Daniel Howe Chrisman,
Dennis A. Cross,
Kevin R. Crody,
Thomas G. Crody,
John R. Crow,
Wells Remy Crowther,
Robert L. Crushank,
John Robert Cruz,
Grace Allegra Q,
Kenneth John Kubas,
Francisco Cruz Cabero,
Thelma Cuccinello,
Richard Joseph Cudina,
Neil James Cudmore,
Thomas Patrick Cullen III,
Joan Cullinan,
Joyce Rose Cummings,
Brian Thomas Cummins,
Michael Joseph Cunningham,
Robert Coratolo,
Lawrence Damien Cura,
Paul Dario Curioli,
Patrick Joseph Coravan,
Beverly L. Curry,
Andrew Peter Charles Curry Green,
Michael Sean Curtin.
Patricia Cushing,
And amongst the most courageous on 9/11 were my brother, Lieutenant Peter Lewis Freund, Engine 55, and my cousin, Timothy Patrick McSweeney, Ladder 3. Peter and Tim, we love you. Our love for you and our respect for your bravery grows deeper every day. Thank you for taking care of our Uncle Ed Merrill, retired NYPD, who just joined you in heaven last week. And on one last note, Pete, this morning at 7:25 this morning, your son Peter texted me, and his text simply read, "I miss him every day." God bless.
and my sister Jane Ellen Baszler, with loved and missed.
Gavin Cushman,
Caleb Aaron Dack,
Carlos S. DaCosta,
Jason M. Dahl,
Brian Paul Dale,
John Delara,
Vincent Gerard Damadeo,
Thomas A. Damaskinos,
Jack L. D'Ambrosi Jr.,
Janine Damiani Jones,
Manuel Joao Damota,
Patrick W. Danahy,
Mary D'Antonio,
Vincent G. Dance,
Dwight Donald Darcy,
Elizabeth Ann Darling,
Annette Andrea Dataran,
Edward A. Diatri,
Michael D. Oria,
Lawrence Davidson,
Michael Allen Davidson,
Scott Matthew Davidson,
Titus Davidson,
Nierka Davila,
Ada M. Davis,
Clinton Davis Sr.,
Wayne Terriel Davis,
Anthony Richard Dawson,
Calvin Dawson,
Edward James Day,
William Thomas Dean,
Robert J. DeAngelis Jr.,
Thomas Patrick DeAngelis,
Dorothy Alma Diara-Ahu,
Ana Gloria Pocasangre de Barade,
Tara E. DeBeck,
James D. Debonair,
Anna M. DeBen,
James V. de Blasi Jr.,
J. Cyril Malabuyak de Chavez,
my brother, Richard Avery Arano, 21 years. It's like yesterday. We miss you, we love you, we will never, ever forget.
and to my deceased husband, Peter Mutos, and I know he'd want me to say a big thank you to all those in the armed forces who keep us safe.
Paul DeCola,
Gerald DiCanto,
Simon Marash Dedbukaj,
Jason Christopher DeFazio,
David A. DeFeo.
Jennifer De Jesus.
Monique Effie De Jesus.
Nereida De Jesus.
Emmy De La Pena.
Donald Arthur De La Pena.
Azunea Maria De La Torre.
Vito Joseph DeLeo.
Daniela Ann Deli.
Andrea Della Bella.
Joseph A. De La Pietra.
Palmina Delegati.
Colleen Ann Diaroli.
Joseph DeLuca.
Firefighter Manuel Del Valle Jr.
Francis Albert DiMartini.
Anthony DeMoss.
Martin N. DeMeo.
Francis Deming.
Carol Keys Demitz.
Kevin Dennis.
Thomas Francis Dennis Sr.
Jean C. De Palma.
Jose Nicholas Da Pena.
Robert John Denary.
Michael D. Rienzo.
Firefighter David Paul DeRubio.
Jamal Lagas DeSantis.
Christian Luis Desmond.
Edward D. Simone III.
Firefighter Andrew J. Desperito.
Michael June Desposito.
Cindy Ann Dewey.
Melanie Louise DeVere.
Jerry DeVito.
Robert P. Devitt Jr.
And my grandfather, Firefighter Alan Terasarich. Nana and Mom teach me about you, and my brothers and I would love the chance to meet you. You will never be forgotten.
And my aunt, Brooke Alexandra Jackman. Aunt Brooke, although I never met you, I feel a deep connection to you. I share your love of reading, helping others, and being the younger sister. As I've gotten older, people have told me that I resemble you in both appearance and mannerisms. And that is truly the best compliment I could ever get. The amount of time you have been gone is almost as much as your short years lived. My heart breaks that I will never get to meet you, but you have and will always be my role model. I hope I am making you and Papa proud. I know you guys are smiling down on me today and every day. I love you, Aunt Brooke.
FDNY Battalion Chief Dennis Lawrence Devlin.
FDNY Firefighter Gerard P. Dewan.
Suleimanali Kasamali Danani.
Michael Luis D'Agostino.
Matthew Diaz.
Nancy Diaz.
Abdulio Ruiz Diaz.
Michael A. Diaz Piedra III.
Judith Burkus Diaz Sierra.
Patricia Florence D. Chiaro.
Rodney Dickens.
Jerry D. Dickerson.
Joseph Dermot Dickey Jr.
Lawrence Patrick Dickinson.
Michael D. Dio.
John DeFato.
Vincent Francis DeFazio.
Carl Anthony DeFranco.
Donald Joseph DeFranco.
John D. Giovanni.
Eddie A. Dillard.
Deborah Ann DiMartino,
David DeMeglio,
Stephen Patrick Dimino,
William John Dimling,
Marissa Donato Short,
Christopher Moore Dincuff,
Jeffrey Mark Dingle,
Rena Sam Deneau,
Anthony D. Inocio,
FDNY firefighter George DiPasquale,
Joseph D. Pilato,
Douglas Frank Stefano,
Donald Americo DiTullio,
Ramsey A. Dewani,
Johnny Doctor Jr.,
John Joseph Doherty,
Melissa Candida Doyle,
Brendan Dolan,
Robert E. Dolan Jr.,
and my godfather and uncle, Richard S. Gabriel. Out of darkness comes profoundness, and I want to acknowledge all innocent lives lost not only on that day, but since then due to 9/11 related illnesses and many still battling. I also want to acknowledge all first responders, including Battalion Chief Oreo Palmer and Fire Marshal Ronald Buca. This year is extra special to me because next to me is Aggie, Oreo's sister, and I truly believe that Oreo and my Uncle Richie brought us together. Thank you also to everyone keeping this memorial service alive. That means the world to us family members. Thank you.
and my brother. FDNY Battalion Chief Oreo Joseph Palmer. Oreo, we love you and miss you always, and continue to hold you close in our hearts. We will never forget your bravery and sacrifice.
Neil Matthew Dollard,
James Domenico,
Benilda Pasqua Domingo,
Alberto Dominguez,
Carlos Domingo,
Jerome Mark Patrick Dominguez,
Kevin W. Donnelly,
Jacqueline Donovan,
William H. Donovan,
Stephen Scott Dorff,
Thomas Dowd,
Kevin Christopher Dowdle,
Mary Yolanda Dowling,
Raymond Matthew Downey Sr.,
Frank Joseph Doyle,
Joseph Michael Doyle,
Randall L. Drake,
Patrick Joseph Driscoll,
Stephen Patrick Driscoll,
Charles A. Droz III,
Myrna A. Duarte,
Luke A. Dudek,
Christopher Michael Duffy,
Gerard J. Duffy,
Michael Joseph Duffy,
Thomas W. Duffy,
Antoinette Duger,
Jackie Sayeg Duggan,
Sariv Ducat,
Patrick Dunn,
Felicia Gail Dunn Jones,
Christopher Joseph Dunn,
Richard Anthony Dunstan,
Patrick Thomas Dwyer,
Joseph Anthony Ecobachi,
John Bruce Eagleson,
Edward T. Earnhardt,
Robert Douglas Eaton,
Dean Philip Eberling,
Margaret Ruth Echterman,
and my cousin, Arnold Arboleta Lim. Arnold worked for Fiduciary Trust on the 92nd floor of the South Tower. His family and friends are so proud of him. Arnold, not a moment has gone by where we don't miss you. When we don't remember the feeling of your warm hugs and the sound of your caring, thoughtful laughter, we forever miss you. Your cousins, Todd Lim of the St. Augustine, Florida, Station 7, firefighter Wilfreda Oletan of FDNY Ladder 6, and the late Detective Raymond Abier of the NYPD Special Victims Unit all became who they are to honor you. Arnold, you must be so proud of your many cousins and your many nieces and nephews, especially Colin, Stephanie, Serena, and Sophie. I'm sure you would give each and every one of them such a loving hug. Let them know that you love them and assure them that you are always there for them, as you have always been for everyone you love. Your mom and dad miss you so much, as do your brothers George and Henry, your best friend and cousin Alex, and all your family and friends. We miss your charismatic charm and your caring and loving heart. Stories about the impact you have made in people's lives live on till this day. Arnold, we miss you terribly each day, but I'm sure you feel that. This Memorial Day, like today, is a reminder that you're here and saying to each of us, I love you. I have never left. I see you, and I'm here. We love you, Arnold. We know you are in a better place looking over us. Please continue to do so because we need it each day. Agu, I love you.
And my uncles, Mark and Stephen Kaleo. They love their family and this country. I love hearing stories about you too, and I wish I could have met you. God bless all our families on this difficult day, and God bless America.
Paul Robert Eckner.
Constantine Economos.
Barbara G. Edwards.
Dennis Michael Edwards.
Michael Hardy Edwards.
Christine Egan.
Lisa Erin Egan.
Martin J. Egan Jr.
Michael Egan.
Samantha Martin Egan.
Carol Eggert.
Lisa Karen Ehrlich.
John Ernst Eisler.
Eric Adam Eisenberg.
Daphne Ferlinda Elder.
Michael J. Alferez.
Mark Joseph Ellis.
Valerie Silver Ellis.
Albert Alfred William Elmery.
Robert R. Elseth.
Edgar Hendricks Emery Jr.
Doris Suk Yuen Eng.
Christopher Epps.
Ulf Ram Erickson.
Aaron L. Urker.
William John Irwin.
Sarah Ellie Escarcega.
Jose Espinal.
Fanny Esposito.
Billy Scoop Esposito.
Bridget Ann Esposito.
Francis Esposito.
Michael A. Esposito.
Ruben Esquilin Jr.
Sadie Et.
Barbara G. Etzold.
Eric Brian Evans.
Robert Edward Evans.
Meredith Emily June Ayward.
Catherine K. Fagan.
And my brother, firefighter Paul Hanley Keating. It was 21 years ago on September 9th. We celebrated his 38th birthday. Our whole family was there, all the nieces, nephews. We had a great night. We had a great day, and we lost him on Tuesday morning. So we always look back at that day and how much fun we had. And we look at Paul with great esteem. We miss him as much today as we did 21 years ago. And until then, may God hold you in the palm of his hands.
And my grandfather, Joseph Jenkins Jr. We love and miss you so much. Wish you were here.
Patricia Mary Fagan.
Ivan Carrillos Fairbanks Barbosa.
Keith George Fairbairn.
Sandra Fajardo Smith.
Charles S. Falkenberg.
Dana Falkenberg.
Zoe Falkenberg.
Jamie L. Fallon.
William F. Fallon.
William Lawrence Fallon Jr.
Anthony J. Fallone Jr.
Dolores Bridget Finelli.
Robert John Fangman,
John Joseph Fanning,
Kathleen Ann Farragher,
Thomas James Farino,
Nancy C. Dolaziski Farley,
Paige Marie Farley Hackle,
Elizabeth Ann Farmer,
Douglas John Farnham,
John Gerard Farrell,
John W. Farrell,
Terrence Patrick Farrell,
Joseph D. Farrelly,
Thomas Patrick Farrelly,
Syed Abdul Fatah,
Christopher Edward Fawnin,
Wendy R. Faulkner,
Shannon Marie Fava,
Bernard D. Fabuza,
Robert Fazio Jr.,
Ronald Carl Fazio Sr.,
William M. Feehan,
Francis Jude Feely,
Garth Aaron Feeney,
Sean Bernard Fagan,
Lee S. Failing,
Peter Adam Fiedelberg,
Alan D. Feinberg,
Rosa Maria Feliciano,
and my grandfather, Rocco Kamaj. On behalf of your 7 grandkids, even though we never had the chance to meet you, we all have heard about the wonderful man you were and how much your family meant everything to you. How you had a great sense of humor and an infectious smile that shines through even today. We love you so very much, Baba. Thank you for watching over us and keeping us safe. And from my family, thank you to everyone who works tirelessly to continue helping us honor our loved ones.
and my uncle, Mark A. Marolo. We love and we miss you every day.
Edward P. Felt,
Edward Thomas Fergus Jr.,
George J. Ferguson III,
J. Joseph Ferguson,
Henry Fernandez,
Judy Hazel Centillion Fernandez,
Julio Fernandez,
Elisa Giselle Ferreira,
Anne Marie Solarin Ferreira,
Robert John Ferris,
David Francis Ferrugio,
Louis V. Versini Jr.,
Michael David Ferrugio,
Bradley James Fetchett,
Jennifer Louise Fialco,
Kristen Nicole Fidel,
Amelia V. Fields,
Samuel Fields,
Alexander Milan Filipov,
Michael Bradley Finnegan,
Timothy J. Flaherty,
Michael C. Fiore,
Stephen J. Fiorelli,
Paul M. Fiore,
John B. Fiorito,
John R. Fisher,
Andrew Fisher,
Bennett Lawson Fisher,
Gerald P. Fisher,
John Roger Fisher,
Thomas J. Fisher,
Lucy A. Fishman,
Ryan D. Fitzgerald,
Thomas James Fitzpatrick,
Richard P. Fitzsimmons,
Salvatore Fiume Fredo,
Darlene E. Flagg,
Wilson F. Flagg,
Christina Donovan Flannery,
Eileen Fletcher,
and my mother, Lillian Caceres. My mother touched the hearts of every person she met, and I'm so proud to have had such an amazing woman to call my mom. We love you and we miss you.
And my cousin, Leah Elizabeth Oliver. We miss seeing that beautiful smile and hearing your infectious laugh. Your time with us was too short, but we know your spirit lives on. You were just too good for this world. We miss you and we love you.
Andre G. Fletcher,
Carl M. Flickinger,
Matthew M. Flacco,
John Joseph Florio,
Joseph Walkden Flounders,
Carol Ann Flysick,
David Fodor,
Michael N. Fodor,
Stephen Mark Fogel,
Thomas J. Foley,
James C. Folger,
David J. Fontana,
Chin Min Fu,
Delrose E. Forbes Cheatham,
Godwin Ford,
Donald A. Foreman,
Christopher U. Forsey,
Claudia Alicia Foster,
Noel John Foster,
Sandra N. Foster,
Anna Fosteris,
Robert Joseph Foti,
Jeffrey Fox,
Virginia Elizabeth Fox,
Pauline Francis,
Virgin Lucy Francis,
Gary J. Frank,
Morton H. Frank,
Peter Christopher Frank,
Colleen L. Fraser,
Richard K. Fraser,
Kevin J. Frawley,
Clyde Fraser Jr.,
Lillian Inez Frederick,
Andrew Fredericks,
Tamitha Freeman,
Brett O. Freeman,
Peter L. Freund,
Arlene Eva Fried,
Alan W. Friedlander,
and my father, Isidro D. Altenwalder. I didn't have the privilege to meet you, but you will always be in my heart. I love you.
and my uncle, James J. Strain Jr. Uncle Jimmy, we love you and we miss you.
Andrew Keith Friedman,
Paul J. Friedman,
Greg J. Froner,
Lisa N. Frost,
Peter Christian Fry,
Clement A. Fumando,
Stephen Elliott Furman,
Paul James Fermato,
Carlton Douglas B. Fife,
Frederick Neil Gabler,
Richard Peter Gabriel,
Richard S. Gabriel,
James Andrew Gadale,
Paul Lee Gaff,
Irvin Vincent Galliard,
Deanna Lynn Galante,
Grace Catherine Galante,
Edward Anthony Gallagher,
Daniel James Gallagher,
John Patrick Gallagher,
Lourdes J. Galetti,
Kono E. Gallo,
Vincent Galucci,
Thomas E. Galvin,
Giovanna Galetta Gambale,
Thomas Gambino Jr.,
Gian F. Gamboa,
Ronald L. Gamboa,
Peter James Gansey Jr.,
Michael Gann,
Charles William Garbarini.
Andrew Sonny Garcia,
Cesar R. Garcia.
David Garcia,
Jorge Luis Maron Garcia.
Juan Garcia,
Marlon Del Carmen Garcia.
Christopher Samuel Gardner,
Douglas Benjamin Gardner.
Harvey Joseph Gardner III,
And my brother, TJ Hargrave, who we really, really miss. Our world has been diminished because of the senseless taking of his life.
and my brother Sushil S. Solanki. I know you're rejoicing with Dad upstairs. Mom, Satish, and I, and along with rest of the family, we miss you and love you every day. Thank you.
Jeffrey Brian Gardner.
Thomas A. Gardner.
William Arthur Gardner.
Frank Garfey.
Rocco Nino Gargano.
James M. Gartenberg.
Matthew David Garvey.
Bruce Gary.
Boyd Allen Gatton.
Donald Richard Gavigan Jr.
Peter Allen Gay.
Terrence D. Gazani.
Gary Paul Guidel.
Paul Hamilton Geyer.
Julie M. Geis.
Peter Gerard Gelinas.
Stephen Paul Geller.
Howard G. Gelling Jr.
Peter Victor Jenko Jr.
Stephen Gregory Genovese.
Elaine Gentle.
Linda M. George.
Edward F. Garrity.
Suzanne Garrity.
Ralph Gerhardt.
Robert Gerlich.
Dennis P. Germain.
Marina Romanovna Gertzberg.
Susan M. Getzendoner.
Lawrence D. Getzfred.
James G. Geyer.
Cortez Gee.
Joseph M. Giacone.
Vincent Francis Giamona.
Deborah Lynn Gibbon.
James Andrew Gibberson.
Brenda C. Gibson.
Craig Neil Gibson.
Ronnie E. Geis.
Andrew Clive Gilbert.
And my uncle, James John Woods. You are loved and missed. Tell Grandma I love her.
And my brother, Brendan Mark Lang, and my beautiful aunt, Roseanne P. Lang. I'd like to share a quick text with you. This is from my brother's, one of his best friends, whose son is a first-year U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis. Ryan just finished a 9/11 stare. Dad, just finished a 9/11 stare run for the 343 firefighters and the first responders that selflessly climbed 110 flights in hopes of saving another's life. Not only for the 343, but for the 2,997 others that lost their life that day. The whole weekend, may we remember and pray for those innocent lives lost and reflect on what it means to be American. The whole time I was going through this, I was thinking about Brendan. Never forget. God bless you, Ryan Walsh, and God bless America.
Timothy Paul Gilbert.
Paul Stuart Gilby.
Paul John Gill.
Mark Y. Giles.
Evan Hunter Gillette.
Ronald Lawrence Gilligan.
Rodney C. Gillis.
Laura Gilly.
John F. Ginley.
Donna Marie Giordano.
Jeffrey John Giordano.
John Giordano.
Stephen A. Giorgetti.
Martin Giovanazzo.
Kum Kum Girolamo.
Salvatore Guito.
Cynthia Gugliano.
Man Jean Balash.
Diane Gladstone.
Keith Alexander Glasgow.
Thomas Irwin Glasser.
Edmund Glaser.
Harry Glenn.
Barry H. Glick.
Jeremy Logan Glick.
Stephen Glick.
John T. Nazo.
William Robert Godshock.
Michael Gorgliormella.
Brian F. Goldberg.
Jeffrey G. Goldflam.
Michelle Goldstein.
Monica Goldstein.
Stephen Ian Goldstein.
Ronald F. Golinsky.
Andrew H. Goldkin.
Dennis James Gomez.
Enrique Antonio Gomez.
Jose Benvenido Gomez.
Manuel Gomez Jr.
And my husband, Bernard Petronica. We miss you every single day. More so this year as we welcomed our first grandson on June 14th, Logan Bernard.
And my loving cousin, Howard G. Gelling Jr., who was 28 when he died that day. Both of his siblings are doing well, and both of them had identical twins, strangely, like the Twin Towers. And Lisa's here with me, Howard, in spirit. She wanted you to know that. And we miss you so much. Love you.
Wilder Alfred Gomez.
Janine Nicole Gonzalez. I love you.
Maurice Gonzalez.
Rosa J. Gonzalez.
Leanne Catherine Godchild.
Calvin Joseph Gooding.
Peter Morgan Godrich.
Harry Gooding.
Kiran Kumar Reddy Goop.
Catherine C. Gorayag.
Lisa Finn Gordestein.
Corrine Gordon.
Sebastian Gorky.
Kieran Joseph Gorman.
Thomas Edward Gorman.
Michael Edward Gould.
O. Christian Oxholm White Goldie.
Douglas Allen Goa.
Yuji Goya.
John Richard Grabowski.
Christopher Michael Grady.
Edwin J. Graff III.
David Martin Grafferman.
Gilbert Franco Granados.
Lauren Gattusi Grancolas.
Elvira Granita.
Wisdom Arthur Grante,
Christopher S. Gray,
Ian J. Gray,
James Michael Gray,
Timothy George Gracioso,
John M. Gratioso,
Wade B. Green,
Derek Arthur Green,
Elaine Mira Greenberg,
Wanda Anita Green,
Gail R. Green,
Donald Freeman Green,
and the love of my life, firefighter Paul Francis Asaro. After 21 years today, it still hurts. We hold into memories, still hurts. So many tears, smiles, shaking our hands, still hurts. But those who die, saving lives, will be always remembered in our hearts forever.
and my uncle Abu K. Chaudhary. Although I never met my uncle, it feels like I've known him all my life. My mother always tells me how wonderful he was. He loved his family unconditionally, and he was kind and generous to everyone around him. I'm proud to call him my uncle, and he'll always be in our hearts.
Eileen Marcia Greenstein,
Elizabeth Martin Gregg,
Denise Marie Gregory,
Donald H. Gregory,
Florence Moran Gregory,
Pedro Grahan,
John Michael Griffin,
Tawana Sherry Griffin,
Joan Donna Griffith,
Warren Grifka,
Ramon B. Grijalvo,
Joseph F. Grillo,
David Joseph Grimner,
Francis Edward Grogan,
Linda Gronlund,
Kenneth George Gruzalis,
Joseph Grzelik,
Matthew James Grismalski,
Robert Joseph Kashar,
Liming Gu,
Richard J. Guadagno,
Jose A. Guadalupe,
Cindy Yan Zhu Guan,
Jeffrey E. Guja,
Joseph P. Gullickson,
Babita Gerjamadi Guman,
Douglas Brian Gurian,
Janet Ruth Gustafson,
Philip T. Guza,
Barbara Guzardo,
Peter Mark Gullivari,
Gary Robert Haig,
Andrea Lynn Haberman,
Barbara Mary Habib,
Philip Hensler,
Nizam A. Hafiz,
Karen Elizabeth Haggerty,
Stephen Michael Haggis,
Mary Lou Haig,
David Halderman,
and my uncle, firefighter Gerard Terrence Nevins. We love you and we miss you every day.
and my big brother, Robert Cromwell Miller Jr., to Bobby. It's been a while, but I cherish how we grew up together and how you shared your wisdom, humility, and kindness. We'll always love you. And to the families of those 13 brave service members killed in Kabul a year ago, we know how much you're hurting. Please know we share your sorrow.
Miley Raquel Hale, Diane Hale McKenzie, Richard B. Hall, Stanley R. Hall, Voswald George Hall, Robert J. Halligan, Vincent Gerard Halloran, Carolyn B. Howman, James Douglas Halvorsen, Muhammad Salman Habdani, Felicia Hamilton.
Robert W. Hamilton.
Carl Max Hammond, Jr.
Frederick K. Hahn.
Christopher James Hanley.
Sean S. Hanley.
Valerie Joan Hanna.
Thomas Paul Hannafin.
Kevin James Hannaford, Sr.
Michael Lawrence Hannon.
Dana Ray Hannon.
Christine Lee Hansen.
Peter Burton Hansen.
Sue Kim Hansen.
Vasilios G. Haramis.
James A. Heron.
Gerald Francis Hardacre.
Jeffrey Pike Hardy.
T.J. Hargrave.
Daniel Edward Harlan.
Francis Harros.
Harvey L. Harrell.
Stephen G. Harrell.
Melissa Harrington Hughes.
Aisha Ann Harris.
Stuart D. Harris.
John Patrick Hart.
Eric Hartono.
John Clinton Hartz.
Emmerich Harvey.
And my cousin, Brooke David Rosenbaum. It's been 25 years since you have passed and since you were ripped from our hearts. The other quiet, sarcastic cousin in the corner reading his book. I'd never have thought that the world could have gotten worse, and yet here we are today. The world truly does get worse without our angels. You are with your whole family now, and we miss you terribly.
And my cousin, Gregory Milanowitz. It's been 21 years since you've been gone. The family thinks about you constantly. We miss and love you so much. I share your story as a teacher to my students each year and how kind you were. We must continue to teach about this day, about the heroism, about the lives lost, and the patriotism this country had after, so this day will never be forgotten.
Peter Paul Hashim.
Thomas Theodore Haskell Jr.
Timothy Sean Haskell.
Joseph John Hassan III.
Leonard W. Hatton Jr.
Terrence S. Hatton.
Michael Helmut Haub.
Timothy Aaron Haviland.
Donald G. Havlish Jr.
Anthony Maurice Hawkins.
Nobuhiro Hayatsu.
James Edward Hayden.
Robert J. Hayes.
Philip T. Hayes.
W. Ward Haynes.
Scott Jordan Hazelcorn.
Michael K. Healy.
Roberta B. Heber.
Charles Francis Xavier Heron.
John F. Heffernan.
Michelle M. Heidenberger.
Sheila M. S. Hine.
H. Joseph Heller Jr.
Joanne L. Heltebridle.
Ronald John Hemingway.
Mark F. Hemscott.
Ronnie Lee Henderson.
Brian Hennessy.
Edward R. Hennessy Jr.
Michelle Marie Enrique.
Joseph Patrick Henry.
William L. Henry Jr.
Katharina Henry Robinson.
John Christopher Henwood.
Robert Allen Hepburn.
Mary Herencia.
Lindsay C. Harkness III.
Harvey Robert Hermer.
Norberto Hernandez.
Raul Hernandez.
And my uncle, FDNY Lieutenant Jeffrey P. Walls, Ladder 9, Great Jones Street. My uncle was a hero I was unable to meet. Like a hero in a comic book, I had heard stories of your heroism and strength. Mom tells me about you every chance she gets. Give a hug to Grandma and Grandpa. We love and miss you.
And our son, Paul Robert Eckner, it's 21 years and it seems like yesterday. You are forever in our broken hearts. And I want to thank you all for watching and listening. to this beautiful memorial. Let us never forget this day.
Gary Harold,
Jeffrey Allen Hirsch,
Thomas J. Hetzel,
Leon Bernard Hayward McSundance,
Brian Christopher Hickey,
and Amincio Dario Hidalgo Cedeno,
Timothy Brian Higgins,
Robert D. W. Higley II,
Todd Russell Hill,
Clara Victorine Hines,
Neil O. Hines,
Mark Hindi,
Katsuyuki Hirai,
Heather Malia Ho,
Tara Yvette Hobbs,
Thomas Anderson Hobbs,
James J. Hobbin,
Robert Wayne Hobson III,
Dawan Hodges,
Ronald G. Horner,
Patrick A. Hoey,
John A. Hoffer,
Marsha Hoffman,
Stephen Gerard Hoffman,
Frederick Joseph Hoffman,
Michelle L. Hoffman,
Judith Florence Hoffmiller,
Wallace Cole Hogan Jr.,
Thomas Warren Hallwick Jr.,
Jonathan R. Homan,
Cora Hidlago Holland,
John Holland,
Joseph F. Holland,
Jimmy I. Holly,
Elizabeth Holmes,
Thomas P. Houlihan,
Herbert Wilson Homer,
Leroy W. Homer Jr.,
Bradley V. Horan,
James P. Hopper,
and my brother, Salvatore F. Pepe. We miss you every day. You're loved by all, forever in our hearts.
And my father, firefighter Gerard Patrick Schrang. We love you. We miss you. It doesn't get any easier. Please continue to watch over Mom, me, Brian, and my boys, your grandsons. We love you, and I'll always be your olive oil.
Montgomery McCullough Horde,
Michael Joseph Horn,
Matthew Douglas Horning,
Robert L. Horojo Jr.,
Michael Robert Horrocks,
Aaron Horwitz,
Charles J. Houston,
Uhuru G. Houston,
Angela M. House,
George Gerard Howard,
Brady K. Howell,
Michael C. Howell,
Stephen Leon Howell,
Jennifer L. Howley,
Milagros Romata,
Marion R. Hrychek,
Stephen Hutchko Jr.,
Chris Robert Hughes,
Paul Rexford Hughes,
Robert T. Hughes Jr.,
Thomas F. Hughes Jr.,
Timothy Robert Hughes,
Susan Huey,
Lamar Demetrius Hulse,
John Nicholas Humber Jr.,
William Christopher Hunt,
Kathleen Ann Hunt Casey,
Joseph Gerard Hunter,
Peggy M. Hurt,
Robert R. Husta,
Stephen N. Highland Jr.,
Robert J. Himmel,
Thomas Edward Hines,
Walter G. Hines,
Joseph Anthony Iannelli,
Zutu Ibis,
Jonathan Lee Ielpi,
Michael Patrick Eichen,
Daniel Il Kanaev,
Frederick J. Ill Jr.,
and my cousin Gary Michael Barrow. Gary, the family and I miss you every day. Your jokes and laughter could light up any room. You'd be proud to know your son Michael graduated from Seton Hall this year and just got his first job at Morristown Medical Center.
Tell Dad we said hi and hope you both bring the Giants some luck today. We love you, God bless you all, and God bless America.
And my father, Edward Calderon. These past 21 years haven't always been the easiest for us, and there has definitely been some great moments that he's missed. But it's the little things that remind us of him every day, whether it's watching over us in our dreams or looking at the clock and it's saying 9/11. We know you're always with us. We know you got our back. Just know we love you, Daddy.
Abraham Nathaniel Ilowitz.
Anthony P. Infante Jr.
Louis S. Inglaterra.
Christopher Noble Ingracia.
Paul Inella.
Stephanie Veronica Irby.
Douglas Jason Eargang.
Kristen Irvine Ryan.
Todd Antione Isaac.
Eric Hans Isbastian.
Tazio Ishikawa.
Walid Joseph Iskadar.
Aram Iskatarian Jr.
John F. Iskian.
Kazushige Ito.
Alexandra Valencia Ivansov.
Lacey Bernard Ivory.
Virginia May Yablonsky.
Brian C. Jack.
Brooke Alexandra Jackman.
Aaron Jeremy Jacobs.
Ariel Lewis Jacobs.
Jason Kyle Jacobs.
Michael G. Jacobs.
Stephen A. Jacobson.
Stephen D. Jacoby.
Ricknoth Jaggernoth.
Jake Dennis Yahoda.
Yudvir S. Jane.
Maria Yakubiak.
Robert Adrian Jalbert.
Ernest James.
Griselda E. James.
Mark Stephen Jardim.
Amy Nicole Jarrett.
Muhammadu Jawara.
Francois Jean-Pierre.
Maxima Jean-Pierre.
Paul Edward Jeffers.
John Charles Jenkins.
And my cousin, John M. Poacher. John and I were only 5 months apart, and I am so lucky that our families chose to do so many things together. Fortunately, there are memories that time does not erase. Our teenage years are ones that still make me laugh. My friends giving John a perm. John coming to visit with his friends to my college. I don't think it was to see me. I really think it was to see the sorority sisters. But they drove all night to get there. And I am blessed to have these memories so many more. I am humbled, honored, and privileged to be here today to show respect for all of the families who were affected by this terrible tragedy. 9/11 is a part of John, but it does not define his person. We will never forget.
And our niece, Dominique Lisa Pandolfo, daughter of my sister Barbara Pandolfo. Dominique was an up-and-coming superstar, her heart filled with love and a real zest for life. We will never forget you. Dominique, we miss you.
Joseph Jenkins Jr.,
Alan Keith Jensen,
Prem Nath Gerard,
Farah Judy,
Huedar Gian,
Eliza Jimenez Jr.,
Luis Jimenez Jr.,
Charles Gregory John,
Nicholas John,
Dennis M. Johnson,
Lashana Johnson,
Scott Michael Johnson,
William R. Johnston,
Allison Horseman Jones,
Arthur Joseph Jones III,
Brian Leander Jones,
Charles Edward Jones,
Christopher D. Jones,
Donald T. Jones II,
Donald W. Jones,
Judith Lauter Jones,
Linda Jones,
Mary S. Jones,
Andrew Brian Jordan Sr.,
Robert Thomas Jordan,
Albert Gunnis Joseph,
Ingeborg Joseph,
Carl Henry Joseph,
Stephen Joseph,
Jane Eileen Josiah,
Anthony Jovic,
Angel L. Harabe Jr.,
Karen Sue Jude,
Ann C. Judge,
Michael F. Judge,
Paul William Jurgens,
Thomas Edward Jurgens,
Shash Kiran Lakshmikanta Kadaba,
Gavakaroi Karmidinova,
Shari Kandel,
and my uncle Jamal Lagessa DeSantis. I know you met me when I was 1, but I wish I got to really meet you. Our family misses you so much, and from the stories that I hear from my mom is that you are so kind and a ray of light, and you make everybody smile. We love you and we miss you every day, and you're our Hercules. With the shalom.
And my grandfather, Raymond Matthew Downey Sr., who I never had the honor of meeting, but through pictures and stories, his legacy will never die. I know you're watching over me and the rest of the family as you guide each of us every day. Connor and JJ, I know Poppy is so proud of you guys for coming to this in uniform for the first time, and Dad for being promoted into Poppy's position as Chief of Rescue Operations. Until the day comes where we can finally meet, your spirit will continue to live on. Always remember and never forget.
Howard Lee Kane,
Jennifer Lynn Kane,
Firefighter Vincent D. Kane, Engine 22,
Jun Ku Kang,
Sheldon Robert Cantor,
Deborah H. Kaplan,
Robin Lynn Kaplan,
Alvin Peter Kappelman Jr.,
Charles H. Karcheski,
William A. Carnes,
Douglas Jean Kopoloff,
Charles L. Casper,
Andrew K. Cates,
John A. Casamides,
Sergeant Robert Michael Colfers, Port Authority Police,
Don Jerome Kauth Jr.,
Hideo Kawauchi,
Edward T. Keene,
Richard M. Kane,
Lisa Yvonne Carney Griffin,
Carol Ann Kiesler.
Barbara A. Keating.
Firefighter Paul Hanlon Keating, ladder 5.
Leo Russell Keene III.
Brenda Kegler.
Chandler Raymond Keller.
Joseph John Keller.
Peter R. Kellerman.
Joseph P. Kellett.
Frederick H. Kelly III.
James Joseph Kelly.
Joseph A. Kelly.
Maurice P. Kelly.
Richard John Kelly Jr.
Thomas Michael Kelly.
Thomas Richard Kelly.
Firefighter Thomas W. Kelly, ladder 105.
Timothy Colin Kelly.
William Hill Kelly Jr.
Robert Clinton Kennedy.
And my brother, Lieutenant Philip Scott Petty, ladder 12. Phil, being 2 years older than me, is someone I always looked up to. After my parents, he was the most influential person in my life. His leadership and actions on September 11, 2001, and those actions of all the members of Ladder 12 that day is nothing short of heroic. And although Phil, Angel Warbe, and Mike Mullen never made it out of the Marriott, there are civilians who survived thanks to the response of these men who led them out of the building. They are some of the many true heroes during this attack, and I am always humbled to honor them. I love you, Phil. See you later.
And my brother, Peter Christian Fry. Peter, it has been 21 years since we said goodbye. To our father and the best buddy you ever had. You two are so much alike. He's doing pretty good for a guy who's 96. Love you, Dad. I'd like to read a message from Meredith, Peter's wife. There are no words that will comfort this day or these years without Peter. We think about him every day and the brutal way he was ripped from our lives. The horror, the terror, the pure evil of this day marks our souls forever. Peter's laughter, light, and strength lives on through his remarkable daughters, Taylor and Kaylee Fry. Peter, you are in our hearts, and we will love you. We all love you forever. Say hello to Mom.
Thomas J. Kennedy.
Yvonne E. Kennedy.
John Richard Keohane.
Ralph Francis Kershaw.
Ronald T. Kirschwin.
Howard L. Kestenbaum.
Douglas D. Ketchum.
Ruth Ellen Kettler.
Boris Califf.
Norma Cruz Khan.
Sarah Khan.
Taymor Faraz Khan.
Rajesh Hendelwal.
Sele Ku.
Michael Vernon Kiefer.
Satoshi Kiku Chihara.
Andrew Jaehoon Kim.
Lawrence Don Kim.
Mary Jo Kimmelman.
Heinrich Kimmig.
Karen Ann Kincaid.
Amy R. King.
Andrew M. King.
Lucille Teresa King.
Robert King Jr.
Lisa King Johnson.
Brian K. Kinney.
Takashi Kinoshita.
Chris Michael Kirby.
Robert Kirkpatrick.
Howard Barry Kirschbaum.
Glenn Davis Kerwin.
Helen Croson Kittle.
Richard Joseph Claris.
Peter Anton Klein.
Alan David Kleinberg.
Karen Joyce Klitzman.
Ronald Philip Klepfer.
Stephen A. Knapp.
Eugenie Niezev.
and my brother-in-law, Ian Schneider, who always brought the fun and love. We are grateful for the memories, but wish there were more. Love and miss you, Ian.
And to my father, Charles Gregory John, you were torn out of our lives, but forever living in our hearts. We love and miss you.
Andrew James Knox.
Thomas Patrick Knox.
Rebecca Lee Kabori.
Deborah A. Kobus.
Gary Edward Kepler.
Frank J. Costner.
Ryan Cohart.
Vanessa Lynn Shibido Kopak.
Irina Koplakova.
Suzanne Rose Konodrenko.
Abdullah Kone.
Bon Suk Ku.
Dorata Kopichko.
Scott Michael Capito.
Bohan George Kostich.
Danielle Kasulis.
David P. Kovalchin.
John J. Kren.
William Edward Krukowski.
Lumita Kasudo.
Toshia Kuge.
Shakar Kumar.
Kenneth Bruce Kumpel.
Frederick Koo Jr.
Patricia A. Kouris.
Natako Kushiani.
Thomas Joseph Kuvaikis.
Victor Huarte.
Raymond Kui Fei Kwok.
Angela Reed Kite.
Andrew Lacourte.
Carol Ann LaPlante.
Jeffrey G. Latouche.
Catherine L. Labore.
Amarnath Lachman.
Ganesh K. Latkek.
James Patrick Ladley.
Joseph A. LaFallis.
Jeanette Louise LaFond Menachino.
David James LaForge.
And my wife, Deborah Kaplan. Debbie, we love you, miss you, and think about you every day.
And my brother, Port Authority. Police Officer Christopher Charles Amoroso, we love you, we miss you, we will never forget.
Michael Patrick Lafort.
Alan Charles LaFrance.
Juan Mendez Lafuente.
Neil Kwong Wale.
Vincent Anthony Layeta.
William David Lake.
Franco Lalama.
Chow Kwan Lam.
Michael S. Lamana.
Stephen Lamontia.
Amy Hope Lamonsoff.
Robert T. Lane.
Brendan Mark Lang.
Roseanne P. Lang.
Vanessa Lang Langer.
Mary Lou Langley.
Peter J. Langone.
Thomas Michael Langone.
Michelle Bernadette Lanza.
Ruth Sheila Lappin.
Ingeborg A.D. Larrabee.
Robin Blair Larkey.
Judith Camilla LaRocque.
Christopher Randall Larrabee.
Hamidou S. Larry.
Scott Larson.
John Adam Larson.
Natalie Janice Lasden.
Gary Edward Lasko.
Nicholas Craig Lassman.
Paul Lasinski.
Charles A. Lorenzen.
Stephen James Loria.
Maria Lavache.
Dennis Francis Lavelle.
Janine Mary Laverty.
Anna A. Laverty.
Stephen Lawn.
Robert A. Lawrence Jr.
Nathaniel Lawson.
And my cousin Elsie Carolina Osorio Oliva. Caro, there's not a single day in our lives that we do not think about you. Your optimism and your joy for life gives us strength and they guide us through difficult times. Caro, vivirás eternamente en nuestro corazón.
And my father, Michael Patrick Lafort, we love and miss you so much. Wishing you a happy 60th birthday. Today we celebrate you.
David W. Lachak.
Yushen Gabrielle Lazar.
James Patrick Leahy.
Joseph Gerard Levy.
Neil J. Levy.
Robert G. LeBlanc.
Leon Labor.
Kenneth Charles Lede.
Alan J. Lederman.
Elena F. Ledesma.
Alexis LaDuca.
Daniel John Lee.
David S. Lee.
Dong Chul Lee.
Gary H. Lee.
Hyun June Lee.
Juanita Lee.
Catherine Blair Lee.
Linda C. Lee.
Lorraine Mary Green Lee.
Mi Young Woo Lee.
Richard Y. C. Lee.
Stuart Soon Jin Lee.
Yang Der Lee.
Stephen Paul Lefkowitz.
Adriana Legro.
Edward Joseph Lehman.
Eric Lerfeld.
David R. Leastman.
David Prudencio Lamagne.
Joseph Anthony Lenahan.
John Joseph Lennon Jr.
John Robinson Lenoir.
Jorge Luis Leon Sr.
Matthew G. Leonard.
Michael Lepore.
Charles A. L'Esperance.
Jeff Levine.
John Dennis Levi.
Alicia Karen Levin.
And my brother, Chris Allingham. Chris is now gone 21 years, and I believe he'd be extremely annoyed at the state of our country today. On his behalf, I am going to remind our elected officials why they have their jobs. The preamble to our Constitution. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. I'll be voting in November. If you're not upholding the Constitution, you're going to be out of a job. That's what Chris would want. God bless America.
And my brother, Donald Walter Robertson Jr. This never gets easy, Donnie. Words cannot express how much you are missed and loved. Your legacy lives on through your beautiful 4 children, Michael, Matthew, Madison, and Kevin, your family, your friends, and of course through Team Shamrock and the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. We choose to remember how you lived rather than how you left us. We vow to never, ever forget. We love you, Donnie. God bless you all, and God bless America.
Neil David Levin.
Robert Levine.
Robert Michael Levine.
Shai Levenhar.
Daniel M. Lewin.
Adam J. Lewis.
Jennifer Lewis.
Kenneth E. Lewis.
Margaret Susan Lewis.
Yi Wei Liang.
Horasri Liang Thanasarn.
Daniel F. Libretti.
Ralph Michael Lichardi.
Edward Lichtschein.
Samantha L. Lightborn Allen.
Stephen Barry Lilienthal.
Carlos R. Lilo.
Craig Damian Lalore.
Arnold Arboleta Lim.
Daria Yin.
Wei Rong Lin.
Nikki L. Lindo.
Thomas V. Linehan Jr.
Robert Thomas Linane.
Alan Patrick Linton Jr.
Diane Teresa Lapari.
Kenneth P. Lira Aravalo.
Francisco Alberto Liriano.
Lorraine Lisi.
Paul Listen.
Vincent M. Lito.
Minghao Liu,
Nancy Liz,
Harold Liscano,
Martin Lizul,
George Andrew Janes,
Elizabeth C. Logler,
Catherine Lisa Liguidice,
Jerome Robert Lohez,
Michael William Lomax,
and my uncle Noral H. Mia, and my aunt Shakila Yasmin. We miss you very much, and we love you dearly.
and my uncle John Gerard Farrell. Uncle John, I never got to meet you, but you live on in the stories that people tell about you, the ones who love you. I've heard a lot about your legendary humor, and I look forward to seeing you someday and to hearing the stories I've been told I'm not old enough to hear yet. We love you, John.